Gotta do this one for all the fallen soldiers, all the forefathers. Great Carew, really miss you, man. Mighty Dragon 2, respect you. This one's for all my people. This festival, whatever you do, please enjoy yourself in the mass, cause you never know, it could be the last. For real, enjoy yourself, give thanks and pray. Festival day, use voices and say, be grateful that for another year the Father has let us live on. Carnival day, use voices and say, so many others would like to be here with us, but now they are gone. Enjoy yourself, free up your mind, inside the mass. For real, let yourself go, 'cause you give thanks and praise when them hands raise and go up in the air. Real man, thank the Almighty, you live to see at least one more year. And everybody enjoy yourself in the mass, 'cause you never know.
Yes, indeed, of course. Sorry about that lapse in transmission earlier. But of course, due to circumstances beyond my control, but certainly Murphy's Law. But it is also said that the tenacity and the will, of course, to succeed is a very potent. You try, you'll succeed at last. And don't forget, of course, on the 18th of next month, a Monday, we will be heading into Port of Spain in our mass. And we must pull up Woodford Square. That is the intention. You'll know about, and you'll hear about more of it in due course.
And those who have gone, the soul still lives on in the bunch of you made to the earth, we will never forget. So everybody, enjoy yourself in the mass, 'cause you never know, it could be your last. Please, for real, enjoy yourself in, you never know, it could be your last. Give thanks and pray, festival day, with voices and say, be grateful that for another year the Father has let us live on. Carnival day, with voices and say, so many others would like to be here with us, but now they are gone. Real man, 'cause you never know, it could be your last, it could be your last, y'all. Enjoy yourself in the mass, 'cause you never know, it could be your last. Give thanks and real festival day, with voices and say, be grateful that for another year the Father has let us live on. Carnival day, with voices and say, so many, for real, man. Yo, the reality of the situation is that some of the people that are jumping in this band today might not be here next year, man. So we gotta give thanks, man, 'cause you never know. For real. Yo, I gotta go.
They don't smile and they never will. Only volunteers get the fill. Empty promises is what they hear. No running water from year to year. Hear their whispers beware. Covered all their and scanty. 10 people in a one bedroom shanty.
And on this, I stand with the United States. because I love my party or my political leader less, but because I love my country and feel compelled. You like that? I'll get the line again. I'll get the line, but one more clap with that line comes through because last name. Moreover, I stand in solidarity with the UNC not because I love my party or my political leader less, but because I love my country and feel compelled to speak out against the brutal slayings of so many young black men every day and the unease that so many citizens feel about what is taking place in society. We, the members of the general public, must intervene to stop this carnage. We can serve the rights and the courage to discover the truth and the conviction to say,
That's the black man's choice. Like shadow say, poverty is hell.
Perhaps, last line, Mr. Gopi said, perhaps like Gandhi we could say, where is the truth? And it shall be.
Some say life is a cycle.
I would unite with anybody and with nobody to do wrong, end of quote. In this particular instance and on this particular occasion, I stand with the United States UNC because I believe it is doing the right and noble thing. Moreover, I stand in solidarity with the UNC not because I love my party or my political leader less, but because I love my country and feel compelled. You like that? I'll get the line again. I'll get the line, but one more clap with that line comes through because last name. Moreover, I stand in solidarity with the UNC not because I love my party or my political leader less, but because I love and feel compelled to speak out against the brutal slayings of so many young black men every day and the unease that so many citizens feel about what is taking place in our society. We, the members of the general public, must intervene to stop this carnage. We can start the process with dialogue, in terms of Socrates, with one another in peace and sincerity, in spite of the spilled blood and the mayhem we see every day. I pray that all the divine powers give us the insight to discern the right and the courage to discover the truth, and to say, I am my brothers and sisters' keepers. Perhaps, last line, Mr. Gopi Singh, perhaps like Gandhi we could say, great is the truth, and it shall prevail.
Yes, indeed, people. And we must now critically examine what is taking place in Trinidad and Tobago today, because I consider it to be, at least, at minimum, the commencement of a revolution, a social, economic, a psychological and cultural shift, a paradigm shift, or coming out of a paradigm paralysis. Because if Kojo could find himself at a forum organized by the UNC, and over the years, his raison d'etre, almost, his reason for existing, was to try, of course, to generate, and even by his statement, would suggest that he is an advocate, and of course, African, what I consider to be advancement and development. It is clear that by his presence at the UNC forum, that life work, if you want to call it that, so far has not worked, and that he saw it imperative to hitch his wagon to a superior and a more forward-thinking. Pleasant good night. A pleasant good night. Let's look at that and see what is happening there. I'm not seeing the call. Pleasant good night. So we have lost that caller. Let me see once again. Yeah, we have lost that caller. We have lost that caller. So people, he has seen the reality, he has seen the vision, he has seen the light on the other side. And before he expires or leaves this plane where we are all enjoying as living souls, living bodies, living, of course, corpus, as the Romans will say, living corpus. The fact of the matter is that, and his presence there is clearly one of not just condescending to that fact, not just capitulation to that fact. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night.
Good night, Lennox. How are you doing, boy?
Good night to you. Good night to you, my friend. As could be.
Yeah, how are you going, boy?
As could be in the circumstance.
Yeah, how are you going?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Go ahead. Make your contribution.
I see the powers that be trying to sabotage this show.
Yeah, boy. What you gonna do?
Yeah, the powers that be trying to sabotage this show, boy. Breaking up plenty.
All right.
Lennox,
Yeah, go ahead.
that man, right? Because he went on a UNC platform, or whatever you call it, for this crime talk. That's an open forum. Anybody could have go any Tom Jane, they call Jane. If you see what kind of name they call in that man, is PNM and them sycophants.
Yeah.
Concern you in your country, right? You is a persona non grata. This is the kind of racial undertones these sycophants of the PNM that be doing. I tell them, go and watch a picture called Hotel Rwanda, you know, in which the Hutus and the Tutsis were fighting one another. Both of them same color, you know. But they divide them by the basis of whatever belief they have, or tribal influence that they had, right? People don't belong in a country that is cockroach, there's this, there's that, and start this racial. So this woman, on the radio, the one who tells people go and jump fence and grow up in the house, she's a, and until Pat or somebody take action on this nonsense doesn't go stop, because she rallying people with foolishness. She coming and saying the man telling people how if you ain't getting nothing, go and come the US, he telling people to go and commit crime and rob people and things. And you see if you're reaching that position where you don't have nothing, you have no other choice but to go and commit crime. Because you live in a depressed area and they have nothing for you. This is what this PNM has been in office for 9 years doing. And the Prime Minister damn well know, that he's suffering these people in these red corridors, and he's throwing pretence out for them. $100 million. Let's come before the election, and they go throw it there for them, they're going to chicken feed, and they go buy it and eat it up. They're so stupid in these areas. Before they vote on this man, he had them suffering, they're blaming Kamala for every day. Kamala calls Kamala apartheid government over nothing. They have nothing to say but a sort of nonsense. I want that to take action on these individuals, because they're doing a sort of foolishness. You understand? And defaming people. How I go there?
Yes, indeed. And let us face it, people. Every single rational thinking, patriotic Trinbagonian, and even non-patriotic, but you are Trinbagonian, know that the PNM is toxic, knows that they are poison. So that few that have the opportunity to, of course, sway public opinion, but continue the poisonous verbalization, calling themselves, of course, talk show hoax. It's irrelevant. But because they exist, and because of what they have been offering as an alternative. And what is the alternative? to deepen our tragedy, to deepen our tragic circumstance, to continue the mismanagement and the corruption, to give a blank check to Rowley and his minions, to determine who must eat and who mustn't eat, and to continue, of course, the poisoning of the African community, yes, and they committing suicide at the same time. Oh, what a tragedy. Oh, what a bizarre state of affairs. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Pleasant good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you. Thing all right now?
I want to make a clarion. Yes.
Okay, good. Right,
I want to make a clarion call. Mr. Lennox?
Go ahead. Yes, I'm hearing you.
I want to make a clarion call. All those disgruntled PNM, we have room for all you in the NTA and the United National Congress. We want to unite and unite back this country. We don't want all you to die because you're going to die mentally, physically, and financially poor. We have room for all the disgruntled like what's taking place. Come over on the other side. The grass start to grow green on the other side.
Yes, indeed. Of course. Words of wisdom, my friend. Words of wisdom. Because the alternative to the PNM is pellucid, it's clear, it is conspicuous. It's like day versus night, and it's constant like the northern star, and immutable like a scent. Yes, that is a fact. And my friend, I'm sure that you are talking to the converted and those who are about to be converted. But the fact of the matter is that the PNM has reached the zenith, the ultimate in its ability to manage the affairs of the country. And we see that that standard is so substandard, is so below par, that no one could even contemplate that the government could reach so low. Having come into office through a man, a fellow who said that he was a corruption buster and was prepared to come up against his own political leader. Now we know that he's a corruption promoter and that he is so egotistic and so self-centered and so narcissistic that, of course, he cannot find the moral gumption and the moral and ethical requirement to call it quit. The money is so alluring. The money and the power and the opportunity is so overwhelming that he cannot see the nonsense that he is doing. But of course will continue to pretend as though he is, of course, a nationalist and one that is concerned about Trinidad and Tobago, when in fact in practice, the antithesis is the case. In other words, he is doing the opposite, destroying Trinidad and Tobago, and the greatest threat to our democracy, the greatest threat to our economy, the greatest threat to our psyche, the greatest threat to, of course, treating with crime is the PNM under Rowley. And they fail to say anybody that replaces him within that party will have the same characteristics, the same DNA. Because the PNM itself clearly has morphed, has mutated, has evolved into a criminal enterprise of despicable and irreparable to a point of no return, and must be eliminated from the political matrix of Trinidad and Tobago. by being relegated to the dustbin of political history, and only you and I can do that by our very vote and our attitude towards people who, to whom much is given. They have returned it with salt, pepper, acid, ugliness, nepotism, cronyism, crime and criminality, corruption, and total and absolute inability to manage any damn thing. Everything they touch, it fails. What the hell you doing with to manage the affairs of a whole country, 1.5 million people? So we must be clear. Finally has realized what we were saying since Rowley took office in 2015. It is so unfortunate in a sense that we have to tell the world that we were correct. Everybody is now coming on board, recognizing the evil that is the PNM. Let's go straight to the lines. Let's go straight to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
A pleasant good night to you, Lennox Smith, and everybody on the live. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night to you, Lennox Smith, and everybody on the live. Everybody on the live.
Yes.
Am I loud and clear?
Loud and clear, my friend.
All right. This morning, I'm going to report the what it is called, I think is Mr. Tabuka. We are talking why it is empowering Indian people, African world, why it is empowering black people too. And he may be saying and say that black people are not business oriented.
Oh yes.
And it's only today, Lennox Smith, I now see what is this man wants to say. Right? These people don't want to be selling the gyros and them is Spanish. Will they be selling the gyros outside you? Them is Spanish? or Syrian?
Those first, the gyro are Syrians.
I don't know.
Syrians.
Yeah.
Syrians.
Syrian.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's not right. So we're all going on. It had a sort of compound probably about 4 years, 5 years ago, and I think the name of the business is Tasty Bites. So then in front of court in point forth, and people that be buying that woman selling at 8 at 10. And it's at 10 she does use from private doctor called Victoria Lab. So if on that business is about 20 she they use to sell chicken and chips something when you night come, and that woman doing that for about 10 years. And it's only today I really pay attention to what's going on. These people who selling the gyros, they must come about 4 years ago, set up shop. And then I get to realize these people must be, they get billion. And they're selling the same thing. So they have the cart on the front line on the main road, and then in a side street, they open up. And I was saying, but wait now, this woman selling this thing for 18 years and can't get a billion to run she business in. And I noticed that with other black people who had a little business and stuff, they can't grow, expand. But other races are not expanding. And then I get to realize, boy, we really is our greatest enemy. We're coming to pulling up one another in the ladder. Something, somebody, somehow curse black people. And I feel it's only when black people really start to unite, they have to be conscious of what it is they're doing. I feel Jesus Christ go pay me appearance. But some evil entity have black people moving away moving. And I want to say this before I go. It's about the I know to she know business I know to one more partner was selling it, and I say, you see that woman you're talking to, you see that woman is a evil PNM. I forget the word he used, but anytime she hire young people, she turn along and she telling them, here what's going on. Just remember when you're going and vote is the PNM hire working there, And I hear that people live. I say, hey, lady, me for that shipping this with you and the PNM, you know. So anytime she hire a young African man or African young woman, she telling them, hey, just remember it's the PNM or hire working. And I realize, boy, these people and them just pure evil. Lennox, nocturnal listening.
Yes, indeed, my friend. And that is no fly by night or isolated incident. But what I know for sure is that there is a level of consciousness, a level of awareness, and it's largely singularly due to social media. Has nothing to do with the traditional media that is supposed, of course, to be swaying public opinion and, of course, generating the equilibrium in the society where people can feel comfortable so that, of course, the amount of crime and the choice of picking up a gun or thinking evil can be minimized. The traditional media have lost that credibility and that role that they were supposed to be playing from time immemorial. And so we know that it's only the UNC that has brought a platform to Trinidad and Tobago, and that there are those who are still, of course, with what I consider to be the simplistic notion that somehow when you move or find a way to undermine Kamala Prasad Bisesa, that somehow it will improve the circumstances of the opposition. I had a long talk today with someone who I respect, and I still respect, but I humbly disagree with their position in attempting, of course, obliquely to try to give him the impression that Kamala's judgment of persons in the inner sanctions of the or sanctuary of the UNC cannot carry the party to victory. I have a different view. But let's go straight to the line. A pleasant good night.
Right again there, Lennox.
Night to you.
I forget to tell you, right? The same jump defense woman, right? She take a clip from Mikey K's show where Gary Griffith was on it, right? And he was talking about how the UNC can't win no election. They have to go it with somebody, other team up with somebody, and take a part of the man clip and playing it like if she manipulating the clip to say that Gary trying to say UNC ain't gonna win no election without a amalgam or coming together with some political forces to win it. And the woman started so she see that already at the score, to make Gary look like he come out in Mikey K show and saying that UNC ain't winning nothing without he intervention involved in it. So she trying to show the score in with the UNC and the NTA if they're trying to make
but really,
or something like that, you understand? So the PNM.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But these kind of people have discredited themselves. Whatever they do, whatever they try, it's irrelevant, it's otious. They are on the verge of being extinct. They bring no value to the politics. They bring no value to themselves. And worse yet, in the PNM, if they have to rely on these kinds of individuals, and these talk show hoax, and then we know that their loss in the next election or any other elections where the UNC and the PNM must come up against each other. The PNM loss may well be unsalvageable. You want to say? I say unsalvageable because these are the same people who were saying the same thing about what has transpired or what was transpired in Tobago. Understand that? Let me repeat. It's the same people who said that fellas like Gypsy could beat the UNC in Maruga Tableland. It's the same people who were saying that, of course, the local government elections and that the UNC cannot retain its dominance in Sangre Grande at the local government elections level. Well, of course, they lost the national elections, and we understand that, so we accept that. We accept that. But the margin of victory is so slim that I know that the PNM cannot feel comfortable, and therefore they have to dig deep in their, what I consider to be their criminal bag of tricks to, of course, manipulate and gerrymander and, of course, try to hoodwink. And with those incredible and incredulous individuals at the fore, they can only talk to sycophants, and they and all are what? Are at the verge of extinction. They are. So I'm not going to waste any time entertaining that kind of talk as if, well, look, it have any credence. Those are talk show hoax. Professor, good night. Welcome.
Hello, good night, Mr. Lennox Smith. Are you hearing me clearly?
Loud and clear at this time.
This thing giving plenty trouble tonight. It stick plenty earlier on.
Yeah,
I
boy,
feel
yeah.
they tackling you, you know, Lennox. They'll be calling the man a rapist and a pedophile every night. 10 and 20 times for the night. They'll be telling the man this thing.
Oh, yes.
So somehow I feel they're interfering with their thing, you know.
Well,
Sabotage.
Let me say it one time. Rowley is a rapist and a pedophile. And so let them take that, put it in the pipe and chew it, eat it, smoke it, whatever. And put it even where the sun don't shine. Go ahead, my friend.
Yes, so I want to talk about the mister who was mentioning about black people and business and the gyro people come and they set up good and thing. These gyro people is Syrian Venezuelan. They come from over so they'll be talking the two languages mixed up. Right? The parents just talk to them in the Arabic language and then they just talk Spanish. It's a whole setup. I did mention this a long time. And these people had stores in the country and things, but they specialize in doing these things. That is how they first started over there. And some of them, they will have a big store and they will still sell that because people like it. So they will be more established for these things, like is a new food, a new street food, okay? It tasting different, the price okay, you get a lot for your money, and Trinidadians like that kind of bread and thing. Then too, they have money, they put out, it have place. I hear small business people say that they ask for, and when they pass back after they seeing, you know, people with not same color like them getting to do business. So they prefer these people in front of the locals. I won't only say black people, but other locals who want to do business apart from black people. So it's always have this fight down in society because of color and money. You understand? You might see a person in a spot. Simple, they're looking like they're reaching nowhere, they have a store. Sometimes people just want to get away from taxes and all of that, but go where they're living. I could tell you that. Go where they're living, and you will see how much they have. You understand? It have people with big house, right? Big house, mansion, a house, and they have a knife and fork in their house to eat, right? And they can't even eat with a knife and fork. Who could hear far will understand what I'm talking about. And that is nothing for them. The main thing is they have money, big car, right? But they can't sit down to eat in the King Palace. I know I could do that. You understand? People that be talking race, race every day, all on the ground report this morning. But I know I have table manners and I don't eat with my hand. And I just can't take every morning they're talking about black people have. If black people go to have business, who will rent from these people who have renters? Who would work for them? You understand? Everybody can have business. Black people is who does make this little country where is a dot on the map known always. Miss Universe, athletics, steel band, calypso, stick fighting. Who you does see doing the stick fighting? Who does more play steel band? Who singing calypso? So we talk English. We learn to talk English in school and we just talk English. We don't use words from where we did come from. Right? We just still use the word where other people come from the next country. They're still using one or two words. We just use it and all. Right? So let me don't talk black people so every day. Try and say good things about black people. Because it have people and understand is that race war going on. And the more you bring down black people, is the more they're going to behave in a certain order. Right? I just talk certain things and my black people will be attacking me for talking on these programs and things, friends and things, and people who know me that tell me why. Because, you know, I just want to say certain things and make the citizens of the country aware of things. You understand? But when it comes to this race thing, every time, so, and if I get into that race talk, as a calling to educate the people on certain things, it gonna be problems. Right? If Lennox get into that, it gonna be problems for Lennox because which party does be? You understand? He will be in real trouble with these type of people. So he have to keep it close. So don't encourage them kind of talk. I find, you know, not you Lennox, but the people who does be calling to see if they could get your mouth to open. I don't know. I just telling you in that way because I know what does be going on with me. So we had to pay attention to what's going on with the situation with black people. So let me just drink water and stay calm. Have a good night, Lennox.
Thank you very much. A word of caution to the wise. A word of caution to the wise. You see, because when one engages, especially if you engage a fellow like me, my focus will always be and put in a cliche, put in a quote, to whom much is given, much is expected. Let me repeat. To whom much is given, much is expected. And I always, of course, talk about pseudo-racism. Pseudo-racism. It is a type of racism where your own kind, your own ethnic group, your own texture of hair and color of skin, your own cultural heritage, commonality, use you for their personal advancement. That is where I am going. And that is where I expect others to be as objective as possible. That is why I could talk so liberally about Kojo. He has a leadership role. That is why I can talk so vehemently about and very perniciously when it becomes necessary about Rowley and the PNM as an organization that claims that it is, of course, an African-oriented one, because the fact of the matter is any objective observer, if you're not resident here in Trinidad or you are a mere academic, you will see that there is a racial divide as far as the politics is concerned. Everything else, the opportunities that the Indians or any other ethnic group, Syrians, etc., have, the same opportunities the African have. Why is it that as one of the major, because none of the others except the Indians don't have the position of a major ethnic group in the society? And why it is, and I accept that the most poor in this country are both Indians and Africans. Let's not waste time. The most poor, those who you see walking the streets, are Indians and Africans who are obviously displaced people. Let's not waste time. And when you go in central and other parts of the country where the Indian community would have settled because of historical antecedent and circumstance, you would see that they are dirt poor as well as indeed Africans, whether they settle on the northern side of the country along the east-west corridor. Same. And the problem here is that while you are seeing and you can measure the advancement of the Indian community in terms of academia, in terms of professions, in terms of material accumulation and ostentatious wealth, let's not waste time, because you cannot show me one African except the one that Rowley artificially creating, that is the Warners, who are engaged, of course, in major multi-million-dollar capital expenditure as far as a contractor is concerned for the construction of roads, bridges, and all of those major infrastructural needs of the country that requires, of course, a level of expertise and, of course, private entrepreneurship. None. It is that we speak to. It is that we have a duty to talk out and to tell the leaders and those who are in charge of the multi-billion-dollar budgets in Trinidad and Tobago on a yearly basis and being in, because they are in government, depending, of course, on the African community, by and large, to have them where they are and then turn around and betray us. That is what we are talking about. As opposed to, and they may well be considered to have an advantage, the Indian-oriented party, that when they get into office, their counterparts would have already built up a reputation, built up a business cadre, built up a wealth accumulation mechanism that will only see them soar. Whilst, of course, the African community grovels and, of course, stare in amazement and bewilderment, simply because when the African-oriented party that is in government, they neglected the Africans. Why not? And I'm sure that there are African businessmen, just as Warner, that wanted to be, of course, a large-scale contractor, just as Junior Sami, just as Calco, just as Namalco, and we can go on and on. Let us waste time with that, and therefore that has to be a factor that must be addressed, because if we do not do that, it means therefore the equilibrium of the society with the two major races will continue to be in perpetual divisiveness and a canyon of division that will see one group in the same place continuing, of course, to see as fair game one group that is ambitious as ambition could be, and therefore home invasions and robberies and, of course, kidnappings, etc., is being done by one group. the group that has been ignored by the leadership of the country that had the most opportunity to lead and to, of course, at least pull them up and get them out of the quagmire that they have found themselves in because of neglect over the years. Understand that? And so once we understand those parameters, it is not simply to say that you must not speak about, of course, the racial connotation and the consequences, because there is something called pseudo-racism. It's not that another group calling another ethnic group or another tribal group or calling another one and believe that they are superior to the other. No, it's within the intra connectivity, the intra actions within the African community and the leadership that has, of course, spoilt the African psyche and the ability to compete. And that is what I keep saying. What they have done instead is generated a group of individuals, both in government and government agencies and all of the apparatus of government, where mediocrity is the order of the day, and they believe that because of that, all they have to hold on to is to put a bunch of opportunistic political parasites like Hines and Rowley, and of course, and persons who have become, let's say, acclimatized to the PNM criminal venture and enterprise, such as George Young and others, and Indians within the party itself that are striving because they have acclimatized themselves to the theft and the evil and the abuse of the African community and the exploitation thereof. Understand that? And so long as we do not come to grips with that and recognize that, then Crapo smoke our pipes. And that is why when the UNC is in government, they are comfortable because the Indian community has become naturally ambitious. And what they do is, of course, try to transfer, try to commingle, try to, spread. And then, of course, at least at minimum, try to equalize the situation. So long as it is lopsided as it is, you are going to have some serious trouble. And what we are trying to do here is to avoid that. It is done by accident. For example, I would work in the Laventille and other depressed communities and showing those young people that, listen, you in a society like ours where the opportunity as far as the education is concerned, for example, you have equal rights, and of course you can utilize that in order to get where you want to go, not to be concerned where that is impossible, and because of their depressed and poverty-stricken circumstance, they are relegated, of course, to a culture that talks about violence, divisiveness, and talk about borderline, and talk about gang warfare. Gang warfare is the killing of Africans by Africans, you know. That's what it is. They ain't killing no other ethnic group, whether it's Indian, Syrian, or otherwise. They kill themselves. And ironically, you have a group of Africans at the helm, at the decision-making processes at the highest level in this country, and control of the treasury of the country, and they cannot solve that problem. They cannot solve that problem. And still telling the Africans that's the only thing you have to hold on to, keep us in office. No! No! That is suicidal. No! Must come to grips with that fact. No, Rowley. No, PNM. It is done by accident, Rowley, and they call the UNC, of course, a box drain government. Why do you think they call them a box drain government? Because along the East-West corridor, Africans were dignified with, of course, contracts, comparatively speaking, they would have never gotten under the PNM in the first place. And when they get a 200,000 contract, when they get $1 million contract, when they get a $50,000 dollars contract, they feel pride and they feel dignified and they feel, of course, they can make a contribution and they can mind their families and they can, of course, expand their horizon and their intellectual capacity is broadened and deepened, and of course they become more and more conscious of what is possible. What is possible? Understand? Kojo is not a stupid fella. Rowley is not a stupid fella either. But when he tells you that he has failed and that you know what to do at the appropriate time, what he's really telling you is, listen, I have failed. I know. You know what you have to do. Do it. Because by way of texture of here, we should coalesce. And the tribalism must, of course, prevail over incompetence, impotence, corruption, nepotism, and cronyism as they go ahead and they gravitate and migrate to, of course, a 1% agenda and leave us there in the doldrums. Understand what is happening. And having said that, let me say, because it is already 10 o'clock, let me say, that I want to tell Hines, I trust that you understand what you are up against. You suddenly find yourself on George Street the other day. The fellas called me. And today I had a lengthy meeting with, of course, the leadership. Now it's the same fellas, the same people that are being accused of gang warfare, of borderline, of home invasion, of course, robberies, etc. That is what I'm talking about, you know. That is what I'm talking about. So Hines gone down there because he heard that Lennox Smith has moved into the area. And so he wants to come as for intelligence, for information. Because the fellas say, well, all right, they show him the dry river. They show him, of course, the buildings that are in a decrepit state. Hines doesn't have the integrity or the honesty to tell them that the agenda of the PNM is to bulldoze the whole place and gentrify it, bring in their 1%ers and get to that community. He doesn't have that, but he comes there to try to see if he can, of course, throw a fly or two in the ointment that they are about, of course, to benefit from. Yes, indeed. So what I told them, but let me tell you what I tell them. I do a proposal for them with all of the issues that are of concern to them: academic, cultural, economic, educational, business-wise, and put it in one document. I was to give them it this evening because I don't make joke. But I ran out of time, but I'm going to give them it early in the morning. I'm sorry I don't have a copy of it here, except, of course, that picture you see in the back of me there. That's part of it. That's part of it. But the point I'm making is that you cannot come there and try, of course, to put a wedge because they are now seeing the light of ambition and seeing what is possible. I'm going to damn well get that building fixed. I am going to get it fixed. And I am going to give them a portion of it to start their own business, not of a cooperative nature. I don't like cooperative because I don't think it works. You have to give one individual the opportunity, and from him, then the other things will follow as people see him as an exemplar, and they see him as, of course, as someone who they can look up to, and as a consequence do the same thing like him, as he came out from and among them. Yeah, so if he could do it, I could do it too. That is the strategy. Understand, this problem could be solved on a sustained basis. What Hines gonna do? He say he come, of course, to see what they want. To see what they want is insufficient. If I was Hines and I come there to see what they want, I would have told them to get something or get somebody to put it in writing and send it to me so that I can, of course, push it through the system in order to get the required funding, the technical and the professional resources in order to, of course, implement. But no, he didn't do that. He's concerned about Lennox Smith presence. Well, I'm going to damn well be present. And when it becomes necessary, as I told them, I will call him over the road and I will tell him in his ears how he mother make him. How Heinz mother make him. When I tell him that, he just look around to see if anybody watching and gone. When I'm on one side of the road, he walks on the other side of the road. These betrayers and exploiters. I in business. And they want to sabotage the program. They can't, because they try it on 104.7 and I find a way. But bet your bottom dollar, I will find another way that will be much more superior to the previous. And of course, the firewall that is required will now be built in because a person who does the same thing over and over and expect a different result, you have to be a damn fool or you're mad. And I'm saying I'm neither of them. I'm neither a fool nor am I mad. Yes, people, that is the reality. He come there because he hear Lennox Smith all over the radio talking about George Street. So he come to see where this place is. Because he knows my stance against them. Because they are pseudo-racists. That blasted peacock, plenty, flair, but no depth. And Rowley, as part of that group. But thank God you have people like Kojo seeing what I have been talking about for years. And Kojo, while he is a neophyte and just come on board, I expect that in the fullness of time, we will have to communicate, we will have to interact. Because he has finally seen what the PNM really is. Even though, of course, he claims that it doesn't mean that he loves his party or his leader less. But he loves his country more. And at the same time saying that the UNC is on the right track. What more you want? And as I was saying earlier about those who are so blasted, myopic, short-sighted, and have on blinders, you cannot see that Kamla Prasad Bissessa is the best thing since sliced bread and the individual to take us into the promised land. You cannot see that. You do not know that she was there before. You cannot see that she's more mature now and diplomatic and strategic than ever before. Can you see that she is like old wine, and the older it gets, of course, is much more what I consider to be palatable and much more, of course, tasty. A liqueur that is cured, like, of course, a developing diamond. Under all that pressure she would have undergone. And you don't see that that is the case? Well, I say to you, you have to be blasted myopic to try to rock the cradle now. And don't study, of course, those sycophants and those talk show hawks and them who doesn't have a brain, who cannot analyze. They would love to tell you that Tobago 14-1 doesn't exist. They will tell you that. You so stupid to take them on. They will tell you that Gypsy did not get his tail cut in Moruga. table and arrest from the PNM, the Muga seat. They would like to tell you that, of course, Sangre Grande Corporation is not in the hands of the UNC. They would love to tell you that. And they would love to make you believe that the PNM, they would love you to make you believe that somehow the UNC is corrupt because the PNM say so. But will stay clear of telling us where this corruption occurred and will remain silent to allow the propaganda to, of course, ventilate. Haven't not told us what corruption in the velodrome, the cycling velodrome in Couva, what corruption was unearthed by the PNM in the aquatic center in Couva, what corruption was unearthed in the hospitals that were built by the UNC, what corruption was unearthed by the over 107 schools that was constructed in various stages that the PNM said any of them were corrupt. Come on. You cannot be so naive. You cannot be so. And then, of course, you have a situation where there is an internal process where, of course, the people are free to contest and to, of course, come up against the leader, as ostensibly it was in the PNM, so it is in the UNC. And Kamala Persad-Bissessar, comparatively speaking, is much more popular in her party as a result of the elections than that of Rowley. How come they ain't saying Rowley? How come they ain't saying Rowley? All they're so damn stupid. Or they've been lured by assholes and nincompoops and asinine specimen and unanalytical individuals who clearly are in a state of cognitive and intellectual decline. Decline. How come they ain't saying that about Rowley? Rowley is the bane of the country. He is the existential threat to Trinidad and Tobago. He's a rapist and a pedophile. And yet still, that is not being said by these same people who are advocating that somehow Kamala must be persona non grata. I say to you, shame on you. I say to you, you have no sense of reasoning and rationality. I say to you that even on the question of a selection of persons to be part of her inner sanctum or her inner cabinet, if you want to call that, or inner decision-making process, even that, you see that she's far above that of Rowley. Rowley has as his, knowing full well that that occurred, a liar, a mendacious individual, a person that was accused and, of course, convicted of perjury in a foreign court, and yet still he took him as the Attorney General today. You had Marlene McDonald, who, of course, came in with a heaping set of luggage of corruption, nepotism, and cronyism when she was, of course, under Manning and, of course, in the Ministry of Community Development. And you still take her and screen her. You have Noel Garcia, which I am going to be talking about on 104.7. That's the next one. I want to get him in a corner because he is very close to Rowley in the sense that he controls, of course, a huge portion. He's the bagman. A huge portion of the resources that are being expended through UDCAT and HDC. And is the hatchet man for the PNM and Rowley directly because Rowley has brought, of course, UDCAT under his wings, under the office of the Prime Minister, and we need, of course, to dismantle that. And I'm going to let me tell you first one time, because tomorrow I'm going to say it on 104.7, so you get a preview as to what I'm going to say. I am going to call, of course, Noel Garcia a scamp. I'm going to call him, of course, a thief. I'm going to call him, of course, a dishonest and dishonorable man. That's what I'm going to call him. And I threaten him, and I, of course, implore him, send me a pre-action protocol letter because you want to save your name. And you would see, he wouldn't, just like Rowley, he wouldn't lift a finger to do so. He wouldn't even talk about it. He wouldn't talk about it. Why? As I've said, personal experience. In the case of Rowley, not personal experience, but the facts to speak for themselves. And in the case of him, personal experience, where, of course, I gathered some 11 young men and sent them, of course, to Garcia back in 2007 when I was the candidate for the UNCA in Lavatil East, Moribund. And, of course, I told them that if they want a contract, because they were at their wits' end how to get a contract. And I told them, if you all really want a contract, I'll tell you what to do. Because, of course, I came up against Rowley as Minister of Housing and Garcia in East Port of Spain when they wanted to bulldoze. And I told them no. And I brought in, of course, Ramesh Lawrence Mirage to tell them that the Islam Act is not applicable to the people of East Port of Spain. And therefore, you cannot bulldoze that area. And so said, so happened. Now that he's Prime Minister, that is his intention, but he's waiting for the right time. If you only give him a next chance, man, he mash up. And I want to tell East Port of Spain one time that as soon as Kamala and they come into office, you will get those apartments for $100 and a lease so that nobody can move you. You know what I say? Because it happened before, and the PNM, of course, encourage you to your own detriment and development. You could have been getting, of course, bank loans, etc., utilizing, of course, these assets as mortgage, for mortgage purposes so that you could build your own, should I say, financial nest egg or your financial nest. But no, you take on Rowley and the PNM and the nonsense. And now Rowley looking to get rid of all you. He started already on Duncan Street. But the point I'm making, that Kamala Persad-Bissessar did tell you all to take it for $100 because of the amount of years and the amount of money that you would have already expended. And you have Eulalie James coming and telling you that is a trick. What the ass is this, boy? What the ass is this? For my own, I could never own something like that in Port of Spain. No matter what part of Port of Spain it is, and somebody telling me I get it for $100, easy. And somebody could tell me, sacrifice my whole family and myself, and then the very people that are connected to that person who was giving me that poisonous information and poisonous advice, and then, of course, because they are in office, then take that away from me. Take it away. So it's not by accident. And we are going to see, of course, Scotland. We are going to see, and let me tell you this, I am the kind of fella who will tackle Scotland, will tackle Heinz, since he come in, then put your blasted resource or the government or my money and your money, taxpayers' dollars, where your blasted mount and presence is. It's going to be a long, hot 12 months of 2024. Long, hot one. Understand that. So tomorrow, look out for that on the ground report, where I call, of course, Noel Garcia a damn thief, dishonest, because of what he did in 2025 to these young men. They couldn't get a contract all the time. But when we set up this thing operation, and I send them to Garcia, and I tell them use their belligerence that Lavatil is known for, and they went and they executed with clinical precision. They ended up with $1 million contract. They ended up with $1 million contract, people. So it's not that they cannot do or they cannot focus on the African community like the UNC would have done, and of course give them the hope and the option to, of course, advance themselves just as anybody. There is enough money in the country so that all can benefit. But Rowley and they want to generate an artificial elitist agenda so that they can dominate and they can, of course, downtrodden, and they can destroy who they wish, who fail to conform. But I, Lennox Smith, is not a conformist. People, we have come to the end. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. I trust that you are more edified now than ever before, because this is the beginning of a very long 12 hot months in Trinidad and Tobago as far as the politics is concerned, and on the East-West corridor, and of course spearheaded by the corridor transformation. Don't forget, of course, Andy, Michael, and myself on the Ground Reporter tomorrow morning from 6 to 9. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned as we look to save Trinidad and Tobago in more ways than one.
They don't smile and they never will. Only volunteers get the fill. Empty promises is what they hear. No running water from year to year. Hearts that no one desire.
And feel compelled to speak out against the brutal slayings of so many young black men every day, and the unease that so many citizens feel about what is taking place in our society. We, the members of the general public, must intervene to stop this carnage. We can start the process with dialogue with one another in peace and sincerity, in spite of the spilled blood and the mayhem we see every day. I pray that all the...
don't forget, of course, tomorrow, no program, tomorrow night, but certainly we'll be back on Saturday night.
Conviction to say, I am brothers and sisters. Perhaps, last line, Mr. Gopi Singh. Perhaps, like Gandhi, we could say, great is the truth, and it shall prevail. I would unite with anybody to do right, and with nobody to do wrong, end of quote. In this...
Just hold them head up, boy. And them woman stronger than a wall. A big pusher iron she daughter. Son in jail for manslaughter. Too bad for him, yeah, they bad boys. No bail, that's the black man's choice.
I would unite with anybody to do right, and with nobody to do wrong, end of quote. In this particular instance, and on this particular occasion, I stand with the UNC because I believe it is doing the right and noble thing. Moreover, I stand in solidarity with the UNC not because I love my party or my political leader less, but because I love my country more and feel compelled. You like that? I'll get the line again. I'll get the line, but one more clap when that line comes through because it's the last place. Moreover, I stand in solidarity with the UNC not because I love my party or my political leader less, but because I love my country. And I would unite with anybody to do right, and with nobody to do wrong, end of quote. In this particular instance, and on this particular occasion, I stand with the UNC because I believe it is doing the right and noble.
We are not forgotten people.
I would unite with anybody to do right, and with nobody to do wrong, end of quote. In this particular instance, and on this particular occasion, I stand with the UNC because I believe it is doing the right and noble thing. Moreover, I stand in solidarity with the UNC not because I love my party
from since the day they born. Some call them rebels without a cause. These social victims upon just love, but yet they christen the heroes, renegades, desperados, forever knocking on heaven's doors. Hear me? Still bad music shatters the silence. Harmony to conquer the violence. Big men run when comes approach, fighting for scraps with the cockroach. Young Turks, they're tough protecting. Almost every young girl expecting. So tomorrow, there'll be another voice from the ghetto. Crying, Lord, crying, voices from the ghetto. Crying, voices from the ghetto. Social amenities, Lord, heaven knows. Opportunities are them always closed. Can't get what once it white collar. So if you can't stretch your dollar, it's later for you crack or smoke your pipe. You're short of dead from gripe. Life does rape dignity and pride. Till there's only bitterness left inside. And every day is a hustle. Arguments are settled with muscle. Till you're 6 feet deep by 3 feet wide. Children through life keep on drifting. It's something they're smoking or sniffing. Or maybe they're trying to forget this life of misery and regret. No one to come to their rescue except Capleton and Boujou. So they boom boxes the Lego. The drunk out voices from the ghetto. Crying, 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 Lord, Lord, Lord. Voices from the ghetto. Crying, 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 crying. Voices from the ghetto. Crying. I was born and bred in the ghetto. I know what I'm talking about, you know. From the ghetto, crying, crying, voices from the ghetto, Lord, Lord, crying, voices from the ghetto. Help us, Father, Lord. Mothers just hold their head on ball, and them woman stronger than a wall. A big pusher eyeing she daughter, son in jail for manslaughter. Too bad for him, he and them bad boys. No bail, that's the black man's choice. Like Shadow say, poverty is hell. She little girl child belly start to swell. Some say life is a cycle, but don't draw she no circle. Where will it all end? Only time could tell. Outside the siren keep howling, inside your belly will growling. Police raid very often, Simpson measuring a coffin. One night in bed you're sleeping, next night is a wake that you're keeping. So you're praying to win the lotto, not to hear voices from the ghetto. Crying, 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 crying. Voices from the ghetto. Crying, Lord. forgotten people. Hear what with dented pride they sold their on. Revolutions, state politicians born. And often their tragic story brings a journalist glory. No wonder they view the world with scorn. From since the day they born, some call them rebels without a cause. These social victims of unjust laws, but yet they christen the heroes, renegades, desperados, forever knocking on heaven's doors. Hear me? Steel band music shatters the silence, harmony to conquer the violence. Big men run when cops approach, fighting for scraps with the cockroach. Young Turks, they're tough protecting, almost every young girl expecting. So tomorrow beds in a borrow, there'll be another voice from the ghetto.